Hello everyone, this is Julia from Craft Room Adventures. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a wintry card to share with you, which is also part of another crafty challenge. This time it was using more or less unusual Christmas colors, not the traditional red and green, which is right up my alley because, as you can probably tell by now, I love my pastels, or pale colors, so this was a lot of fun for me. I stamped out all of the images from the Frosty Little stamp set by Hello Bluebird onto Bristol smooth cardstock using Versafine Onyx black ink, and now I'm just coloring them in using Zig Clean Color Real brush markers and Arteza brush pens. Here I'm just using the light blue from Zig to color in my mountains, and here I'm using the pale rose for the hearts. As you can see on screen, I also listed some Copic numbers. You won't see me coloring those, but I ended up adding the R81 to the hearts and to the berries on the little snowman's hat, and also the YOO to the star that one of the snowmen is holding, because I really wanted to add some embellishments on top of it, and you really can't do that with water-based markers, because any embellishments like Nouveau drops or crystal glaze would reactivate the watercolor and it just ends up looking pale and a bit weird. So I colored those in with Copics just over top of the zigs, and that way I could add my embellishments later. Now I'm just using some green shadow and emerald green for my trees. For the smaller trees I only use the green shadow, and I'm using brick beige for my stems. Oh, tree trunks, I'm sorry. Again, just adding another layer to my trees. Now I just realized that I used the wrong marker because I wanted to use the, what is it called? Shadow Mauve? No, I used the Shadow Mauve, but I wanted to use the Haze Blue, which is just a little less purple and just a tiny bit lighter, which I thought was perfect for my snowman. So the color that I'm actually using is Haze Blue. Now I'm using the Shadow Mauve for the birds. And I'm going in with Ash Black for my house, or for the roof of my house. Those are the Arteza markers. And also some fog gray from Zig. Again, using the Ash Black. Now I'm adding another layer, and this time I'm using Elephant Gray by Arteza because I didn't want it to be as dark. And again, going in with a second layer of the Ash Black on the hats. again with the elephant gray. And I'm using the same color on the door. For the windows, I'm using a little bit of honey from Arteza, which is the same color I will use for the noses of my snowman, for the little carrots. I'm using pale yellow for the star. Here I'm using Pale Rose by Zig for the scarf and the berries on the hat. And also the band on the top hat. And now I'm using Spearmint Blue from Arteza. Again with a pale rose for the scarf, the heart, and the hat. And the heart on the envelope is also something I later colored with R81 by Copic to make sure I can add some glitter to it later. Just adding another layer of color. And that finishes up the coloring. Almost. Just a little bit of light gray to shade in the white. Now for my background, I'm using Spun Sugar and Tumbled Glass Distressing. Not adding too much color, just enough to make it visible behind the mountains. I wanted the light blue just to peek through behind the mountains and the pink for the main part of the sky. And I also die cut 3 hill borders using the Grassy Knoll die set by Hello Bluebird. And I'm blending the top edges with cracked pistachio distressing. Just adding a bit more compared to the others. The first thing I want to do is adhere the mountains to the top panel that I will be using. And I thought it would be easiest to just add them to the back with liquid glue before adding it to the panel, because I wanted the first of the hill panels, which is all the way in the back. I'm sorry, I'm missing a word here. To be glued down flat, because I didn't want to add too much bulk using foam tape. So I just added some liquid glue and I used my reverse tweezers to hold the mountains in place while the glue dried. Now I'm just adding some liquid glue on the back of the entire thing, and I'm placing it onto my background. Oh, almost went flying there. Now I'm just adding some foam tape to the back of my 2 front hill panels, and I'm also adhering those to the background. Now it's time to start placing my images. I'm just trying to figure out the layout that I want to do. Just trying to figure out which snowman I want to use and where to place all my images. And now I'm just starting to adhere my trees using liquid glue. I added some snowfall with a white gel pen. I used the Sakura jelly roll for this. And maybe you have guessed it, I forgot to stamp the sentiment again. You would think I would learn, but nope, not a chance. So I removed the foam from the Misty to compensate for the bulk that I added with the foam tape, and I'm using the sentiment from the Snow Place stamp set, which says "Let It Snow." I'm using Versamark ink because I want to heat emboss it. If you're making a card like this, just do the sentiment before. It's so much easier and a lot less stressful. But it worked out fine. Here I'm just brushing away any stray embossing powder. Off to the side, my heat gun is already heating up, so it's nice and hot. And now I'm just melting the embossing powder, making sure that I do it as quickly as possible so that I don't warp the panel. Now I'm adding the background to an A2 sized card base. And adding the rest of my images. I had already put some foam squares on the back of them, and now I'm just placing them down. The little hearts I wanted to place above the chimney of my house, and I just glued them down again with some liquid glue. As a final touch to embellish my card, I added lots of Nouveau drops in White Blizzard, which is the clear one with iridescent glitter. I added it to the hearts, the heart on the letter, the star, which are all the elements that are colored with the Copics I listed before, also the little berries on the hat, and to the snow on the rooftop and the snow-capped mountains. And that finishes up my card for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Maybe you consider subscribing to my channel for more crafty videos. And hopefully until the next time, have a wonderful day. Bye!